Hi everyone. Today let's focus on a question that many of my students ask me, and this is, what is business English exactly? So why do I have to take business English lessons? Now, the answer to this question lies in the definition of business English, which is actually a subsection of general English. In business English, we focus on the language that you need for your work. Does this mean that you don't need general English? Well, of course not. You have to have a minimum B2 level of English, in my opinion, in order to really upgrade your skills in business English. Because in business English, we're going to focus on advanced expressions, advanced sentence structures that you would need in order to sound more profound, more professional in any business situation. Now, there are two different types of business English lessons. The first type is the business English lesson where you dive deep with your teacher into English expressions and vocabulary that you would use for work. So in a business English meeting lesson, your teacher would take you through interesting expressions, interesting ways of talking in a business meeting. In an interview business English lesson, your teacher would take you through expressions related to this situation. So what kind of words, what kind of language you should use when you're in an interview. Now, the second method, in my opinion, is a little bit better for my students. I think that the information that you need, the different expressions and words that you need in a business meeting or in an interview, you can actually find online. You can find it in online platforms, you can find it in search engines, you can find it on platforms like ChatGPT for whoever of you use those platforms. But what is more important is how you're going to use it and will you feel comfortable using them when the time comes. So instead of just memorizing words or lists of expressions that you will need in a business situation, what is much more interesting, I think, is to actively use this language in role play. What does this mean? Role play is a situation in an English lesson where the teacher and the student take different roles and activate a real conversation. For example, in a business meeting, the teacher could be the manager, the customer, the supplier. You could be yourself, and you could exchange an interesting conversation in order to practice and activate the words that you've learned. Another very nice exercise in a business English lesson is a debate exercise. What is a debate? A debate is when you have an idea that you will try to argue in favor or against. So what I usually do with my students is I ask them what topics they're interested in, and depending on those topics, I will select some simple sentences that we will debate in favor or against them. So my student will have an opinion. They will state their opinion. They will try to argue in favor of this opinion, and I will counter this opinion. So I will counter argue and try to convince them of the opposite opinion, and vice versa. So this is an ongoing exercise that not only helps you activate your language and your vocabulary, but also you practice your argumentative, your persuasion skills that are extremely important in any given business situation. In a business English lesson, you will also be given business resources. Make sure to select a tutor or a teacher that has access to a large amount of business English resources, whether these are articles, whether these are listening activities like podcasts or case studies. Something that I really enjoy practicing with my students is a good business case study. So I send them a case study related to their industry. For example, if a student is in the tech area, I will send them a tech case study. For example, a case study around Google, around Tesla, all of those giant tech companies facing some kind of challenge, some kind of problem. By reading this case study, you're going through vocabulary connected to your industry, and then you can have some fascinating exercises around this case study. You can practice debate exercises, you can go into vocabulary and grammar structures, and you can also perform some really nice writing exercises to really make sure that the student has fully understood the concept and is using advanced vocabulary. In addition, another thing that you can do in a business English lesson is bring things from work. Some of my students will bring their business emails to look at together, to correct and see how we can upgrade them. Other students will bring their presentations. We will role play them, we will go through them and make sure that the day of the presentation they're ready and top-notch in order to offer an excellent presentation towards their manager or their customers. And another interesting point in a business English lesson is having a conversation about topics that you don't feel comfortable with. Let's say that you have a business meeting the next day or an interview. This is something that you can practice with your teacher. You can role play the situation, and the teacher should make sure that you're comfortable with all the necessary vocabulary, all the necessary expressions that you need to take this meeting to the next level. So if you're ready to take a business English lesson, why not take a trial lesson with a teacher? There are many different platforms online that you can select from. If you would like to check out my lessons, everything is in the description of this video. Let's get to meet, have a trial lesson, look at your learning objectives, and see how we can achieve them together.